What's up, Middle Georgia Dog Pound? Welcome to another edition of the Middle Georgia Dog Pound Live. I'm your host, Brian. Matt, Kevin, what's up, fellas?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Another great day to be a dog, my friend. Another great day to be a dog. Finished the year, the regular season, 12 and 0. Only one of us on this show tonight knew that the dogs were going to be 12 and 0 at the end of the season. To give it up to Kevin. He predicted that one right.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, looks like we're headed into Mercedes-Benz Stadium to take on the LSU Tigers. Before we get into everything SEC championship, make sure we'll go over, recount the big win there between the hedges in our last home game of the season against Georgia Tech, also known as the Georgia Tech Maggots. Squished those bugs good and left them in the field, and I was so happy to see it live with Dad. So it was a great day to be in Athens. But a few housekeeping tidbits before we get into the show, guys. Do not want to mistake letting everyone know that if this is your first time on the show, we want to get your comments. In order to see your comment on the show, if you're commenting on Facebook, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook to give Facebook permission to show your photo and your comment and your name, so we'll know who's commenting on the show. So as I mentioned, guys, got a great show for you. Got a great guest that has agreed to come on, Paul Petrisko, former player with Georgia back in the 70s, but also most recently an official with the SEC conference, and going to share some great insight with us. But before we get into all of that, I want to make sure that we roll those highlights and show that footage one more time for the big win between the hedges.
Georgia in the final home game of the year will be in red jerseys, silver breeches, red helmets.
All right, dogs, be on defense to start the game. Get the ball in the second half. Scott Z. I hate that. Let's get it popping.
Zach Gibson, the quarterback, will start it for Georgia Tech today. And over-the-shoulder catch caught by McCollum. Gibson placed it perfectly. Tyson Pumachan, the quarterback, going to check in, fake it, run to the corner, touchdown.
Well, dogs need to come back and answer quickly.
Todd will kick a 30-yard try here to get Georgia on the board. And the kick is good.
That's a little more like it.
Hand off to McIntosh. Big hole straight down the hash. Kenny Mack put suddenly out at the 50. Breaks the tackle, 10-45.
That'll get you going. Once again, right behind Tate Rowlands. They can't stop you. Keep going.
Bennett in the shotgun. Throws it. Marcus Rosenby-Jack sank up high. Catches it right on the goal line. And falls into the end zone. Touchdown. Thorson will punt it. And the Dogs do a great job of McConkey down there.
Get up there, big fella.
Dante Smith is planted for a loss of a couple. There it is, the placement. The kick is away towards the uprights, and it is good! 51-yarder. Bobble the snap, he drops it, and we're going to gobble him up back on the 17-yard line. 3 red shirts in there, led by number 2, Smile London. So he's under center, but he's going to fake it, and he wants to throw in the end zone. Scooped up off the turf. Brock Bowers, make it burn. Touchdown.
That's an incredible catch.
And the ball came out. Ball is loose. Georgia says they have it in the pile. At the 25-yard line. Yeah, Georgia's got the ball.
But it's really that play. Pressure the quarterback a little bit and play tight coverage.
Bennett with a play fake now as we play on first down. Deep ball, he's got a man open. Oh, over the shoulder catch. Caught by McIntosh. It's a race to the end zone. Kenny Mack, they'll catch him. Far sideline inside the Tech 10. Wow.
That's the offensive line push we've been looking for all game.
4th sack of the afternoon by Georgia. Milton, unlock the doors. He's going to the house. 10, 5, touchdown. Yes, sir. Georgia, a winner over Georgia Tech. 37-14, the final score.
Big win there, guys. Just like we said, 12-0 for the Dawgpound and 26-1 for the Middle Georgia Dawgpound. Since we started the show, the Dogs have been undefeated in the regular season. If you'd have told me that before the Clemson game, Mr. Matt, I would have told you you're absolutely crazy. There's no way that the Dawgpound Live would have gone 26-1 and then be undefeated in the regular season. So we're going to keep doing this thing. As long as the Dogs keep winning, we're going to be on here bringing it to you each and every week.
That's right.
So the Dogs win at 37-14 against the Georgia Tech Maggots. Great amount of offense there, 394 total yards, 250 yards rushing. And again, Kenny McIntosh shows up and shows out, guys. Just absolutely killing it. He is coming on strong. And I got to give a lot of credit to our offensive line. They are mowing some people down, man, opening up some holes. So just totally excited about what our Dogs are going to do this week. So we've got our special guest hanging on the back line here. I do not want to delay. Let's get him on and give him a good welcome here to the Middle Georgia Dawgpound, Mr. Paul Petrisko. Thank you so much for joining the show, sir.
Thanks, Brian. And guys, it's good to see you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we are so excited to have you on tonight and get you to share a little bit of your memories from your playing days, and then give us all your good insight on the SEC officials and our officiating crew that we've had to deal with during the Georgia Tech game, but also give us some insight on what you're seeing as far as what to expect from our officials going forward. So, hey, I got a few photos that I'm gonna put up on the screen here. Let's see if I can get them to show up here. How about that one right there now?
That's when I had hair, so that's good.
How about that? So I was looking at the full shot of this, and I took it out, but you're actually in a almost a running pose here. And how did they do that photo? If you ever remember that.
Basically, all they tell you to do is to stand there and do a crossover move.
Gotcha.
And smile. So that's about it.
I got you.
This was the Clemson game in '76. I was fortunate enough. I started that game as a sophomore and was top dog, and it's just one of the many plays there. And I think you have another photo too of me making a tackle. The funny thing about this one is it looks like his knee is down, but it's not. But when he hits, his foot comes up and. Let's just put it this way. He gets me in a spot that's not real nice, but I remember that play because it really hurt. But it was a great play. It was a good play. So anyway.
Now, what position did you play, Paul?
Back in the day there, they didn't throw the ball like they do today. So we basically put 6 men on the front of the line and dare you to run. And I was a defensive guard, which means I was lining up on the offensive guard. Which, again, if you watch today, you won't see much of that defensive guys on an offensive guard.
Tell us a little bit about this photo that you sent me.
Yeah, this is a magazine. I don't even know if it's still around. I think it is, but back in the '70s, that was a big deal. This magazine did a lot of. It was regional too, so. Unfortunately, this was the year after I was out. I was already gone from Georgia, and friend of mine called and said, "Man, you're on the cover of Southeastern Football." And I'm like, "No way." And sure enough, there I am. And this is the last game of Tech. And, obviously I'm being blocked and trying to make the tackle. But that was just really fun to be on the magazine. This was that Clemson game I was telling you about. I was top dog for the game. Just an award that they give you for best defensive performance. And then after my playing years, I was awarded this is hard to say, you got to do it right. I was the most athletic player from the state of Florida at the University of Georgia. That's hard to say. So anyway, I was from Florida. And so that's obviously maybe a little biased there since I was from Jacksonville, and the Jacksonville's the one who gave me the award. But I was very proud to have that. Coach Dooley was there, and everybody. It was a nice dinner that we went to.
Now, from my understanding, the Jacksonville Bulldog Club is like one of the longest standing clubs there is in the United States. I read this somewhere the other day that like outside of the state of Georgia, it's the longest standing club that meets on a regular basis. And they got, of course, they got that signature logo there with the gator in their mouth, and that's on every one of their on everything that they wear. It's really cool.
Well, they're a big reason I went to Georgia. My dad moved there in 1974 in the winter of '74, January, and I had no idea what a Georgia Bulldog was because I went to high school up in Southern Maryland, and I think I told you this too, that my little high school, played against Bill Krug's high school, so we played against each other. We didn't know it, of course, but my dad got transferred to Jacksonville, and then that's where I got discovered by all the teams that recruited me, and the Bulldog Club there was very influential in my decision to go. But the main reason was Coach Russell, so that's why I went there.
Well, speaking of Irk Russell, tell us a little bit about the Junkyard Dog defense, how that name came about, and what did it mean to you to be part of that original Junkyard Dog defense?
Well, that came in '75. I was just a freshman, and I did dress for home games. Back then they only traveled 100 players, so I didn't travel, but I dressed for home games. But I remember it was after practice one day, we were in, just helmets, and Coach Dooley had somebody come out and play guitar, play some songs. And one of the songs was Bad, Bad Leroy Brown, meaner than a junkyard dog. And Coach Russell was standing there. We all listened, and it was great. And then 3 days later, I'll be darned, we've got T-shirts that say Junkyard Dog. So I don't think that's a coincidence that that's where it came from. But yeah, I was one of the original members of the Junkyard Dogs. Here's a couple of guys. There's a Khaki and Roger Bennett there in those pictures, and then Phil Aaron in that bottom picture.
I know that fellow.
Yeah, there's Mr. Khaki.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, before we jump into your refereeing days, is there any particular game that stands out to you in your playing career that you take pride in, and it's one of the bigger wins, or maybe something that happened in the game that you were able to contribute to that made an impact?
Well, obviously the one I remember the most was in 1978 playing Vanderbilt when I had an interception as a defensive guard, which I could go on and tell you how great a play I made. But in all honesty, I got blocked and knocked down, and I got up and I thought, well, I need to get back into the play. And the ball, here it comes. It would have hit me right in the face if I hadn't caught it, but I didn't catch it, so I had an interception. So that was very memorable, and that kind of swung the momentum over, and we went on to beat Vanderbilt. But that season was great. Coach Dooley made the comment early in the year that this is probably one of the worst senior classes he's ever had, and we ended up going 9-1-1, which I was very proud of. But a couple of games that I really remember, both of them won by kicks, were the LSU game and the Kentucky game, especially the Kentucky game where we won in the last minute from Rex Robinson. So both of those big wins, I really, I remember those like it just happened.
Absolutely. Well, I'd be remiss when you bring up Coach Dooley. I'd be remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to talk about what he meant to you. Is there any special memories that you have? I know Bill Krug shared one of when his dad passed away, and how that Coach Dooley was instrumental in getting him home. Is there any specific stories that you have that you'd like to share?
Well, the biggest thing about Coach Dooley, I got recruited by Alabama and Florida and Miami and Tennessee, some pretty good schools, but there was only one head coach that came to my house, and that was Coach Dooley. And that really meant a lot. It meant a lot to my father. And the fact that, it was Coach Dooley and Coach Russell, plus the University of Georgia. Come on, you don't have to sell anybody on Georgia. It just really influenced my decision to go there.
I got one more question about Coach Russell, and I was thinking about it earlier this week, and I should have sent it to you. But there's been a lot of debate on whether Coach Russell should be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. And one of their criteria is that you had to have coached 8 years as a head coach. Give me your thoughts on why. I mean, it just seems stupid to me that is a criteria for someone like him of his stature and what he did and what he meant to college football. That would hold him back from being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
No, I agree. Based on his record and years of service and all the men that he mentored and molded, and then what he did at Georgia Southern. Picture day or the first day there, they had to go to the store and buy a football. They didn't even have a football. So, he to me was such a motivator, and he's the type of guy that you'd go to war for. And why? I guess rules are there for a reason. There must be a reason why you have to have so many years with the same school. But there has to be exceptions too, especially for somebody of the caliber of Coach Russell.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Well, let's get into your officiating years here. We know, obviously, there's two of these fellows right here are pretty recognizable. Mr. Coach Muschamp. How did you get into officiating, and give us a little background on that and how long you were official?
Okay, yeah, I won't go into a lot of detail, but bottom line, it was the summer of 1979, and again, I'm out of football. I've got one more quarter to go to graduate from Georgia, and I was working at Bulldog Sporting Goods. I don't know if you remember that or not. And the owner I was complaining to him about, I'm out of football, don't have anything to do, and he says, well, why don't you coach? And I'm like, no, don't have the patience. And he says, well, why don't you officiate? And I said, I got to buy a uniform. And anyway, he walked over to the rack and took her uniform off, threw it on the counter. He says, now what's your excuse? So anyway, that's what got me into officiating. Anybody can officiate or get into the game. I mean, they're looking for officials. All you got to do is contact your local high school association and then just, follow the steps. But I did the high school and all that other stuff for 10 years and really didn't feel like I was confident enough or good enough to go into college. And so after that, I got into some small college. You don't know this. It's a SMAC. It's a Southern. No, it's a SWAG. I'm not drawing a break here. Anyway, it's up in the North Carolina area where I was working at the time. And I worked at SAC 8. That's what it is. I did that for a while, for 2 years, and then got on the supplemental with the SEC. Coach Dooley, again, was influential in that by writing a letter of introduction. And I did the supplemental for 3 years and then got into the league in 1992. So from 92 to 2018, I guess that was 25 years on the field, and then I had 2 years in the booth.
That's cool. So looks like you had a couple of you had one mishap right here. Tell us about what happened right here.
In 2007, I'm working a game at LSU. They're playing Louisiana Tech. It's no contest, of course. LSU is this is the middle of the second quarter. And I don't know if you remember Trendon Holiday. You remember him, the little speedster? They threw a little flare pass out to him, and the defensive back, as you can see, he's on the ground there, came up to make a play, and Trendon put it into the afterburners. And this kid missed and hit Trendon and spun, and it happened so fast, my leg was coming down, and I got caught up underneath him, and it broke my leg. Snapped it right in two, both bones. And I knew it was bad when the athletic trainer is holding me down, says, "Don't get up, your leg's broken." I'm like, well, if they could tell just by looking, it must be pretty bad. So it was bad. And they took me off the field, of course. And I developed something called compartment syndrome and then ended up 16 days in the hospital. But the LSU people, to me, are my second family. They really, it was right at Thanksgiving. They took care of us. They came to visit. Even Coach Miles came that night, and he didn't have to do that, but he came to the hospital. Now they knocked me out because I was because of my leg. I was on morphine and everything else, but they told me that he came, and he left me a little note, but I really never forget that he came to see me in the hospital.
That's huge.
That's
huge.
Yeah. So, they really did. They just went beyond and above and beyond. And these are just some action shots. Here's an Alabama game and Mississippi State, me in the background. Nothing to tell about this, just some action shots on the field.
Now, you were a line judge. Were you always a line judge in each one of these games?
Yeah, yes, I was. When you get into officiating, you kind of gravitate to a position that you're comfortable with and that you enjoy. I started as an umpire, that's the guy in the middle. Mm-hmm. And because of my size, everybody thought that's where you belong. But to me, it was kind of, I hate to say boring because there's a lot going on, but I didn't like it because all I was calling was holding and false starts. And, I wanted to get out of where the action was on the wings, where you call everything except roughing the passer, roughing the kicker. And plus you're running and it was just more enjoyable. So I got out on the wing, and I came into the league as a line judge and was there for the 25 years.
Yeah, you got to have some tough skin being a line judge. You're constantly getting your ear chewed right there, aren't you?
If you don't have thick skin, you don't need to be out there. I can tell you that right now. But most of the coaches, the action is so fast, they don't have time to really, banter or talk much. They're doing their job. But of course, it's an emotional game, and they're going to react when something happens, and you kind of let them do and let them blow up. As long as they don't make it personal, you know what I mean? They can say just about anything they want, just don't make it personal, and they'll forget about it and move on because they got to. The game's going.
That's right. Well, Mr. Akaki wants to know about an inadvertent whistle.
I had one again at LSU. LSU was kind of like my Achilles heel, I guess. But no, I did have one inadvertent whistle, and it was a touchdown they had to bring back. But again, LSU was playing well, I don't want to say an opponent they easily beat. So they scored on the next play. But yeah, I did have an inadvertent whistle. Thanks, John.
Hey, it's got to happen to everybody, right?
Yeah, it does. I tell you what, well, we just had one the past weekend. Who was that? I think it was the LSU game. Anyway, where it was they ruled a backwards pass, but and then that was ruled by the line judge, and the head linesman had an inadvertent whistle, so they had to replay the down. Yep. But yeah, it happens.
So there was a call in the Georgia Tech game that I've never heard called before. It was assisting the runner.
Okay.
How do you determine if somebody is assisting the runner when this entire big pile is pushing?
Well, you just said the key word, push.
Gotcha.
This guy pulled. You can't pull. You can't lift. You can't pull. You can't lift. And then that's the difference. You can push. They changed that rule about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess. So it used to be you couldn't push, but now you can push. Just again, can't pull, can't lift.
Gotcha. Ken Lalonde says, how did Paul keep his cool with SEC coaches when they went off?
Well, again, you just got to remember it's an emotional game. I mean, come on, these guys are making really good money. They want to keep their jobs. They're not mad at you. They're probably mad at a player or a situation. And there's only one person they can vent to. But again, they don't make it personal. They let them blow up and get it over with and move on. And again, it really doesn't bother me. And I think that's one, I guess if I had to pat myself on the back a little bit is not that you couldn't intimidate me. There's a lot of officials out there you can't intimidate, but coaches will work officials. They'll work them to try to get a call somewhere during the game. And but most of us, you couldn't do that. You're too busy. You don't have time. If you're thinking about a play that happened 4 downs ago, you're in trouble because you're not focused on the game.
Yep, totally agree. So typically we don't see Kirby Smart really ripping into the refs. He has from the press conferences that I've listened to him talk, he has a deep respect for referees and the job that they do and the officiating that takes place and all the different facets of things they're looking at. He has an appreciation, but on Saturday at the Georgia Tech game, I saw him tearing into the officials more than I've ever seen, and I had a little video of a clip that we caught, and just wanted you to provide a little opinion on what was being said here. I'm just joking. You don't have to provide it.
It could be like I had a coach ask me one day. He says, "You can't make that call," and I said, "Well, Coach, I did. Sorry."
Yeah, I'm just joking. Whatever Kirby was saying, it was not good. Let's just put it out. Let's just make that known. I've never seen him tear into an officiating crew, and that was only one of like 3 or 4 times that he really jumped on them. So it was a poor officiating day. That is for sure.
No, as a Bulldog fan, I was very frustrated. I know what you mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of questions I sent to you earlier in the week. Kevin wanted to know, how has replay affected the mindset of officials on the field?
Well, it definitely has. And in some ways, it's good, and in a lot of ways, it's not. But when I say that is that that if you do make a mistake, depending on what the call is, in other words, judgment like pass interference and holding and some other calls like that you're not going to get any help from the booth. But when it comes to loose ball, when it comes to interception, reception, et cetera, you can feel like you got a little leeway there that you can make a call knowing that if you didn't get it right, the booth is going to help you. But that being said, I think there are a lot of officials that don't make any call because, for one reason, it could be they don't have experience. And for another reason, they'll let the booth fix it if it needs to be fixed. So I think it is affecting not all, but a lot of the officials when it comes to passes and mostly passes, yeah.
Dad says, how do you deal with a coach being in your ear all the time? I think you went over that a little bit, but.
Well, if they, it's funny you say that because I got a story about Jackie Sherrill. Jackie Sherrill would come up behind me, or not me, anybody on the wings, on the end, and he loved to just say, "He's offside, he's offside, he's offside," and he gets louder and louder and louder, and it's like you got to say, "Coach, come on, man, let it go." But now you got just ignore it. That's all you can do.
That's right. Matt asked. He says, "How do when they're choosing which official to promote to the conference here, how do they vet these officials for biases?"
Well, really, once you've made it, in other words, they decided I don't think you're vetted before you're offered. But what they ask of you once you're accepted is to tell us your conflicts. In other words, did you go to one of the schools? Do you have a kid that goes to one of the schools, or a brother or a sister, or maybe your father? You know what I mean? If there's any connection to that school, they want you to scratch it so that they can schedule around that, just so there's no improprieties or even the concept that there is one. Obviously I went to Georgia, so I never worked a Georgia game.
Right.
But that's basically it. It's just a scratch list that you give them.
And which one? I think we talked about this a little bit over the phone, but there was a couple of. You said you officiated. How many SEC championships were you a part of?
Two SEC championships. There was 97 and 99. I guess it was Auburn, Tennessee, which that was Peyton Manning's last game. And then 99 was was Alabama, Florida.
That Peyton Manning game would have been a cool one. Now, which one do you consider out of all the games that you officiated was like one of your biggest games that you ever were a part of?
Well, I had two Auburn, Alabama games, which they're just rivalries, and I had two Clemson, South Carolina games, which are rivalries. So those are really, really big games. And they all kind of stand out. We used to tease each other or say, if you say you got a game that's obvious, a homecoming game, and you're not really thrilled to be there, but we just say, if you don't think this is a big game, mess it up and see what happens. There's a lot of truth to that. So you work every game as if it's a big game. And all of those games to me, I remember, the best officiated game is when the game's over and nobody talks about the officials.
That's right.
That's the best game. And you know what? The bigger the game is, usually, the easier it is to work. Because usually both the teams are disciplined. They're well, scouted and they're planned and they're working. And so that's like I said, the bigger the game, usually the easier it is.
Was there any call that stands out to you as like one of your most memorable that you were ever a part of?
Yes. I've had one controversial call in 25 years. And this was, but I got it right now. Come on, I got it right. I'll tell you the story real quick. It was the first time Houston Nutt went back to Arkansas. Remember, he went from Arkansas to Ole Miss. And so a lot of hype. The Coach Nutt's coming back to Arkansas. And, anyway, this is going to be a big one. So sure enough, Ole Miss is leading 23-21 late in the fourth quarter. And Arkansas is driving. All I got to do is kick a field goal, win the game, and that's it. And Houston Nutt can go home. Well, anyway, there's a long pass down my sideline, and the receiver pushes off, goes up, catches the ball, and lands about the 26-yard line. Easy field goal. But I've got a flag for offensive pass interference. And that really, really blew up. Even, in the papers, the only time my name was ever mentioned in the paper. But I had a lot of satisfaction when one of the coaches came up to me about a series later, and he goes, "That was a good call. We've been trying to get that kid to quit doing that all season." So anyway, that was good. I enjoyed that. But that was a big call because, like I said, it was the only controversial call I had, and it kept Ole Miss from winning the game. Excuse me, Arkansas.
Right. Well, fellas, you got anything you want to ask Paul before we move forward and start digging into this SEC championship?
Good. I got one.
Okay.
Which coach did you officiate for that you liked the least? Like you did not want to officiate their games?
Well, there's two parts of this question, because in my early years, when you're young and you really don't have the experience, working with Gene Stallings was a challenge, and that man would hurt your feelings. But great coach, great man off the field. I mean, just a pillar of the community, just an awesome guy. But on the field, he would hurt your feelings. But the one I really didn't enjoy going to South Carolina and working with Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz could get a little carried away at times, let's just say, okay? And he really wasn't a big fan of any officials, not just us, but any officials.
Right.
And I know you want, real quick, I know you said something about, can you tell the difference in the play with and the officiating? when it comes to your Division 1A and Division 2, I mean, the obvious difference is usually size and speed. But when it's all Division 1, what happens is the speed comes up. And in the SEC, that's what it's all about. I mean, SEC is going to outspeed most anybody they play. There are some schools that can keep up. Clemson can probably do that. But other than that, no, it's definitely speed that makes the difference. And as far as officiating, I can't tell you how many times I've had our other conferences come up and look me in the eye and go, this is talking about SEC total. He said, you guys are so much better than our officials. It's not even close. So basically the difference was we were let them play conference. You know what I mean? Just, we're not going to ticky-tack you. We're going to let you play.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Reggie May wants to know how officiating a game for Steve Spurrier was.
I've got one story about Steve Spurrier, but no, he was good. He didn't really get too much on the officials, but one game they threw a middle screen, and if the ball is caught behind the line of scrimmage, the receivers on the wings can go down and block. Well, my key went down and blocked, and I didn't see where the ball was caught, and so I've got offensive pass interference, and he is just raising heck, and I go over to tell him what's going on. He thinks I've got holding. And when I tell him what I had, he reaches out and grabs my arm, which there's this, I don't touch you, you don't touch me. You know what I mean? And so when he grabbed my arm, I pulled it back and I said, don't touch me. And he jumped back and ran behind one of his offensive coaches. And he goes, he caught the ball behind the line of scrimmage. And I'm like, oh, man, maybe he's right. So anyway, long story short, we verified it was caught behind the line of scrimmage. We called it off, touchdown. He was happy. So anyway, but Coach Spurrier was great. Now I have nothing to say about Coach Spurrier. He was very good.
Awesome. Well, Paul, we sure do appreciate you coming on the show, and I hope you stick around and provide us some commentary and some analysis on our dogs and what you think we need to work on and what we need to be looking at for this upcoming game in Mercedes-Benz. And we will jump right into it, but thank you so much for coming on the show. I do appreciate it.
Oh, so my pleasure, guys. Anytime. Hope to do it again maybe next year.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely put you on the calendar. That is for sure.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, guys, let's do this. Run this game trailer and jump right into this thing. What do you say?
Do it. Let's do it.
Victory formation for Alabama. There's the snap and the kneel down. And Alabama's the Southeastern Conference champion once again as they defeat Georgia by a final of 41-24.
Y'all all say you want to do something different than what they did last year. Guess where that starts at? Right now. If you want to do something different, then by God, be different.
Everybody's locked in. Everybody's focused. We're ready for it. That's one thing that, we haven't been able to, win in the past couple of years. So that's something we want to do.
This is going to be crazy, man. The fans going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of passion. I ain't been in the SEC Championship yet. That wasn't a great game. So, it's going to be a great game for sure.
Our fans, LSU fans, they're both huge and get after it. So I know it's going to be a great atmosphere and a great environment.
Guys, listen to me now. I love every one of you now. This team right here, I go to war with this team anywhere, anytime, any place.
Well, guys, we're here. SEC Championship. It seems like this year has just flown by. I don't know about you, but I feel like this season has gone by faster than the last season did. And I don't know what the reasoning behind that is, but it definitely blew by. Our dogs are 12-0 again, and we're here in the SEC Championship, and we don't have to face Alabama, which is absolutely mind-blowing in my opinion. But obviously, you guys know that LSU's mascot is the Tiger. I try to pull some little tidbits each week on the mascots and highlight those. But it looks like in 1936, the original Mike was purchased from the Little Rock Zoo for $750. The money was contributed by the student body, and the original Mike was known as Chic. at the time it was purchased, and so they changed his name to Mike, and the rest is history. I think they're on to like Mike 10 now or something. But just a cool little tidbit to know where these mascots come from. I think it's interesting each and every week. But obviously, Brian Kelly, you guys know he came from Notre Dame. Got a long history of coaching in college football. But Kirby Smart is 2 for 2 against Brian Kelly, and we're going to make that 3 for 3 on Saturday. What do you say, guys?
Right.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to get into this defense. Let Kevin tell us a little bit about who to expect as big players on our defense, and then we'll get into some discussion about what we all need to expect and who we need to watch out for. So, Kevin, jump in here. Talk a little bit about the LSU defense.
Yeah, I'm just going to try to give you a quick, brief rundown of this defense. I'm having a little technical difficulty. It's all right.
I got you.
Yeah, I'm just going to be brief with you and not take up too much time and try to just blow through this as fast as I can. We're going to be facing the number 36 overall defense. They're allowing 347 yards a game. It's 204 passing, 104 rushing for an average. First player I want to highlight is Harold Perkins. If you've watched any games this year, you have definitely heard this kid's name called, and he's just a freshman. He's 6'2", 220. He's a linebacker. He's recorded at 59 total tackles, 29 solo, 7.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception. His biggest game came against Arkansas. He had 8 tackles, 4 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles in that game. Yeah, he really made life a living nightmare for that backup quarterback Arkansas had. He's fast, athletic, aggressive, can shed blocks and really disrupt your run and pass game. Secondly is a fellow that we all should recognize his name. It's B.J. Ojulari. He's the brother of Georgia great Azeez Ojulari. He's a junior, number 18, defensive end, 6'3", 250. He's got 51 total tackles, 33 solo, 5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. His biggest game came against Alabama with 11 tackles and 1 sack. He's strong, physical. He's just got a natural ability to shed block, and it's very disruptive in the run and pass game as well. And some people are calling him better than Azeez was at Georgia. So this is somebody that we really need to focus on to keep contained and do not let him in the backfield. To me, this is our biggest threat in our passing game is to keep him blocked and contained. Thirdly is Greg Brooks, is a safety. He's a senior, 5'10", 187. He's got 51 total tackles, 28 solo, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, and 3 passes deflected. This kid, he had his 2 biggest games were the losses to Tennessee and Texas A&M, where he had 10 tackles in the Tennessee game and 8 tackles in the A&M game. This is somebody that he's physical guy. He will get after and lay the wood to whoever has the ball. So you're going to hear his name called a lot, I'm sure, because he's going to be back there trying to make tackles against our receivers. And Stetson gets down the field with the ball. The next player is Micah Bakersfield. He's a linebacker, senior, 6'1", 228. He's recorded 73 total tackles, 33 solo, 1 sack, 1 interception, 6 passes deflected. His 2 biggest games were against Florida. we had 11 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 pass deflected, and Tennessee, where he had 15 tackles. And these are all, they've got a good linebacking core. I mean, they really get after whoever has the ball. They like to keep contained in the run game. They just don't like to let you get out in space and break off big runs. I also have one other player, Makai Wingo, as a sophomore defensive line, number 92, 6 foot 295. 40. He recorded 40 tackles, 22 solo, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 4 passes deflected. These are just the highlights of people we can expect to hear their name called, and people we need to just keep off of our running backs and our receivers. And with that, I'll pass it on to Matt.
Hey, I appreciate that, Kevin. Hey, I wanted I pulled up this video and I tried to get it up while you were talking about Harold. It's not Harold Perkins. Who were you talking about earlier?
Yeah, that's Perkins there, number 40.
Yep, that's who it is.
Mm-hmm.
He's twitchy, man, and he's fast.
Yeah,
and,
he's real fast. That's what I was telling you about. He that's the poor backup quarterback for Arkansas. He made his life miserable in that game.
Yeah, it's obvious, and if we don't, if we don't account for him, he's a game wrecker.
He really is.
He might be the best pure rusher that they've got. It looks like that's about what he does, is just cause havoc. and we definitely have to account for him. Now, I did read somewhere that the way that A&M accounted for him was that they just ran the ball directly at him. Devon A-Chain, he had like 215 yards, and it said this is the first time that A&M scored 38 points on LSU, and this is the first time that A&M had scored more than 30 points since October of 2021. And the way they just ran the football, and we're pretty good at doing that. So
yeah,
I say put Big O out there and just let's put the freight train on him, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like I was saying, this guy's he's more of a natural pass rusher, is what he does. He likes to disrupt the pass game, and as you can see, with that hit right there, you could just tell that he is he likes to make the quarterback's life miserable. So like you were saying, I think if we just develop a hard run game, just go nose to nose with them, make them stop us. I think that's one of those things that we can exploit in there.
It's almost like what we did to Aiden Hutchinson against Michigan last year. We just took him out of the game, right?
Right, exactly.
You let him hang around, he's gonna make our life a nightmare. But you take him out, take him away, and that ends that process. But
as you can see, that was 40 and 18, which was Perkins and Ojulari both getting after that to make that tackle just a minute ago. If you can back it up, you'll see it. But
well, hold on just a second. I'll go back. No, I'll back it up. Let's see. Was that it? Nope, that was interception.
Yeah.
I think I may have went too far.
It's fine. It was just a little highlight to show what
there those
two guys are capable of.
Yep. They can be a game wrecker, but I feel confident our offensive line can hold up and provide us the protection that we need. I don't have any concerns. Well, Mr. Matt, I've belabored long enough, man. Let me get you in here and let you share your thoughts on the offense.
All right, so we're going to start out with our offense. The LSU offense is the 39th rated offense, total offense in the country, which is not terrible. It's not a top 10 one, but I mean they're a good, efficient offense. They are averaging about 325 yards a game, but we know they're definitely run heavy. We would assume that they are run heavy because not only does They have a lot of good running backs. They also have a running quarterback. So talk about their quarterback here. We got Mr. Daniels. He's a transfer from ASU. He spent a few years there. I remember him in recruiting. He was a big recruit for them, but eventually moved on to LSU, like most other schools get. They tend to always show up with these guys who excel once they transfer to LSU. So he's here. He's done a pretty good job, to be honest. Didn't start out so hot at the beginning of the year, but has really made a name for himself so far throughout the season. He's got about 2,500 yards passing, and with 15 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. That's pretty good. He also has 824 yards rushing. That is number 2 amongst all quarterbacks in the entire country. So this guy is well over 3,000 yards total all-purpose yards as their leading rusher and their passer. But he also leads another category too. It's called sacks. He has the most sacks. This offensive line and him have the most sacks in the entire conference for the SEC. He's got 40 sacks this year so far. And some of that comes with his ability to run and scramble for extra yardage, which eventually sometimes gets caught him. So that's part of it. And so we are assuming that what they're going to do is, knowing that we're not a huge sack team, they're still going to try to maneuver him around and get rid of the ball quickly, or try to get him out in space to run. Kind of similar to what Florida attempted to do with us as well. We saw how that worked out for Florida. So with that, that's their main things. As we look at the running backs, we could spend a lot of time here. I just picked 2 guys out. Ultimately, there's 4 running backs they use quite frequently. It's very similar to us, how we have 4 running backs who usually play. They have these 4 main running backs too. The first guy here is Josh Williams. He's their leading rusher. He didn't play last week. He's been injured, but I think they're expecting him to come back and play a little bit of time during this game. I wouldn't expect him not to. This is a big game for them. This is going to be their Super Bowl, if we're being honest, because they're out of the playoffs with that third loss they took last week. So this is going to be their big game. They have to come out and do something with it, because they're going to get a middle grade bowl, and so this is their big game for them. So expect all those guys to play. I know we had some early reports for going back to Daniels right quick. They said that he's been in a boot all week long, and that they're skeptical to play. He's going to play. Don't worry about it. That's all for show. For all the skeptics out there to make us think that he's not going to play. That goose totally going to play. So you watch the rest of the game. He even got injured. He came back in the game and still played just fine. So they're trying to just put that stuff out there in the air so that we won't think about him running. He's going to run the ball. Trust me. So look at the running backs. We got Josh Williams here, and also have John Emery. This guy here is also, for those who keep up recruiting for Georgia, is a guy we also heavily recruited as well, Mr. Emery. He's not their Mr. Emery is not their second leading rusher. He's a third leading rusher, but we're going to see a lot of him, in my opinion, in this game. We saw a lot of him last week against Texas A&M with Williams being out. So as we look at Williams himself, he's got 481 yards rushing with 6 touchdowns. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry, which is pretty good. And then we have Mr. Emery with 321 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging a little bit under 5 yards a carry. Other 2 guys I have that we don't have on the screen here for running backs are they have Kane, who's at 340 yards, which is their second leading rusher, with 7 touchdowns. And then got Goodwin, who has a little bit under 300 yards, 264 yards, but he has 5 touchdowns. So they spread that ball around with the running backs. I didn't want to have a bunch of slides up there, all the running backs, but we're going to see a lot of them. But I would definitely see a heavy dose. If Williams plays, we're going to see a lot of Williams, and probably going to see a lot of Emery. If not, we're definitely going to see a good dose of both Kane and Emery in the run game for them. So we get to our receivers here. I got 3 wide receivers that I put out here. First is Neighbors. If you watched him, he's our leading receiver with 726 yards. He only has 1 touchdown though about the year, but he averages averages about 12 yards, a little over 12 yards a catch. The next one is the one they've had for a while. He's their veteran. This is Booty, or however you say his name. I'm going to say Booty or Butu, whatever you say. He's got 431 yards and also 1 touchdown, but averages about 10 yards a catch. And then we have Jenkins. So Jenkins is 332 yards and 5 touchdowns, but averages about 15 yards a catch. The main thing about these guys that I wanted to really showcase is that they are very physical. good-sized receivers. And so they're going to put some of that physicality out on our perimeter, on our cornerbacks. They have to be able to handle that. So some of our smaller cornerbacks, I love, Bullard and stuff, but he's going to have to be able to handle that physicality that comes across there for him playing his position and stuff. So I would definitely see a physical game. We need to make sure we tackle really well because these guys are good runners after the.
Lost Matt's audio.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Matt, I lost your audio, buddy. I don't know what happened. Let me try to take you out. Let's see if we can hear you now. Can I hear you now? Nope, I lost you. Somehow I've lost you. I don't know what happened. All right, well, I lost Matt's audio. I'm not sure what happened to him. One thing that I wanted to showcase, Matt, and I wish I could get your commentary. I don't know if you can exit out and come back on. But I had a video that I wanted to show everyone of Daniels and kind of the similar play you're going to see day in and day out in this game. I'm going to play it in the slow motion here, but it's almost like a triple option RPO, kind of a hybrid style here. You'll see him. He'll act like he's going to hand the ball off here, and he's looking for this edge rusher to come in. And once he bites on the running back, he pulls the ball down and goes. Now, in a couple other plays, you'll see him do the same thing. But what he does is this tight end out here, if the linebacker comes, sheds the block of the tight end, he'll just dump it over the linebacker's head to this tight end. And you're going to see that play. It's a similar play that they run over and over and over and over. And the same thing with this tight end running around this way to the left side here. They run this play over and over and over, just a different version of it. You'll see it all night long. But this is the big play that broke it open for LSU to where they won the game against Alabama. Let me see if I can speed it up. Let's go. There we go. And then you'll see the 2-point conversion play, which is almost just a little bit of a different version of what we just watched.
Well, while we're on that play, if we could back up, I know Paul's in our background. I wonder if he saw the block in the back on that last play.
Yeah, I saw it. The way that's called is if the guy maintains contact, I can't tell if he loses contact. In other words, with his hands right there.
Right there.
If he doesn't lose contact, then that's okay. But if there was a break and there is a separation, yeah, that was a block in the back.
It's nice to have a little bit of insight there.
But I just thought this was interesting to go back and look at what we can expect on a couple of plays. But from what I'm watching, and Kevin, I'm sure you looked at some of this too, but it seems like this is a similar style play that they run almost every down. They just have 2 or 3 options to go to, and right here, obviously the tight end's wide open, and that broke it open for them against Alabama.
It is. If you go back and you look at a lot of what Notre Dame used to do, this is very similar to what they used to do. I mean, we've seen this before, and Kirby has seen this offense before. He's well prepared to handle it. A lot of the things, it's very repetitive of what they do.
Yeah, it looks like, and Matt, tell me what you think about this, man. I mean, everything looks like it runs through Daniels. If Daniels is having a great game, LSU is gonna have a good game. It seems like the times that Daniels struggled, like for instance, I wrote down that he was 8 for 20 against Auburn, and somehow they ended up pulling out that game. I guess he only had 70 yards, but they ended up pulling out that game. But when they played Florida, he was 23 for 32 with 349 yards and 3 touchdowns. And they won that game. So if he's playing well, the offense plays well. Everything runs through him, and I feel that maybe that's a little bit different than what Georgia is. We seem to be very, very balanced on all 3 phases. But specifically, if Stetson Bennett's not having a good day passing the ball, we're just gonna buckle up and run the ball and make it happen. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so I agree with you. Sorry for my technical difficulties. I apologize. So yes, if you look at those stats in those 2 games, like especially even the Arkansas game, which I know some people were dealing with the flu in that game, but also the same kind of premise. His ability, he opens up that entire offense. So if it's for those running backs to get as many yards as they do during those games during the season, it's because he allows them. His ability to run gives him that option to hand the ball off or make the run. So you have to have accountability with the defense. So if you have a good, solid defense who's disciplined, you can really take advantage of him and his ability not to be able to pass the ball super efficiently. So, yes, I think you're 100% right. The offense goes through him. If he's able to run and get out in space, that's eventually going to open up opportunities for him to pass the ball because we're going to have to bring people down or we're going to have to do a different kind of coverage to accommodate for that. So I think we play very similar to how we played Tennessee and Florida, where we played a lot of man on the outside and allowed our guys to contain. Have 5 rushers in, maybe 4 linemen and a linebacker, or 3 and a 2 linebackers, some kind of form of release sending 5 pressure all the time. I think you have an opportunity to really make him be on his backside a lot of the game.
Totally agree. Yeah, Hunter Ivy says, I wonder how Daniel's ankle will affect his ability to run the ball. I'm not sure he's 100%. And then John Akaki says his ankle will get weaker as long as the longer he plays. I think what he's trying to say. Yeah, I agree with both of those statements. They're gonna do whatever it takes to keep him on the field. He's their only shot at winning this game.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective, I looked up a little bit of specs on him, and he himself has scored 26 touchdowns for LSU this year.
I was just fixing to get to that. You were wondering, Matt, why that the receivers do not have very many touchdowns. It's because they do not have explosive plays. Their explosive plays are Jaden Daniels. That's it.
Yeah.
He is their only weapon for explosive plays, and I think I want to say they're last or close to last in the SEC for explosive plays. Their bread and butter is to get in the red zone, and then they power themselves in the end zone by running the football. They're like 3rd in the SEC when it comes to red zone offense, and I think they're like 10th nationally. I looked it up. They have a 72.7% red zone efficiency. Good news for us, we're number 1 on defense for the SEC and nationally for red zone defense. Our opponents are only scoring in the red zone like 32% of the time. So pretty
I think we're number 1 on offense
stats. We are number 1 on offense, on red zone offense as well. So pretty astounding stats when you start looking at it on paper of how well we stack up against this team. To put it in perspective for our defense, and I don't know if we covered this stat, but last year our defense was giving up 8.8 points per game. This year we're at 11.3 points per game.
That's pretty dang good considering all the people that we've had to come in and reload at.
Yep.
Another good stat for our defense while we're on stats is LSU has allowed 41 sacks this season.
Yep.
And they rank 122nd overall college football for sacks allowed.
Yep.
I think that's going to allow our defense to feast mightily.
Well, what piece of the puzzle do you guys think that we've got to put in place to make sure that we win this game? I mean, Matt, I'll start with you. You have any thoughts on what keys to the game that Georgia needs to really focus in on that we might not have been doing for the rest of the season?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I have 3 I wrote down.
Good.
So my 3 that I have are this way. Being aggressive, and I mean that towards the offense. I think the offense has to be aggressive. I think we've seen too many of these games so far this year where offense has played a very vanilla, very basic offense, just kind of to mull through the game. This needs to be an aggressive offensive game plan, and we can't allow it just through the game. So I think aggressive offense. I think we can't have missed tackles. We need to make tackles and not have these where we're missing several tackles and allowing these run or these receivers to run after getting the ball. And the last one is no turnovers. We have these tendencies this whole year to have these games where we have 2 or 3 or 4 turnovers. We've had a good enough team to get through those because we haven't played a very high caliber team. But now we're in this part of the season where every game we're going to play in a good team. Yes, LSU lost last week, but they're still a good team. They wouldn't be in this game if they weren't a good team. They can win this game if they play, their best game, and we're going to get their best game. So those are my 3 main components: aggressive offense, making tackles, and then no turnovers. I think we're good to go.
Paul, not to put you on the spot, man, but what do you think? Do you have any keys to this game? What looking over the season? What things do you see that we got to do better with?
I think, first of all, even though the offensive line has been doing an excellent job, I really would like to see them stay a little bit lower and come out a little harder and drive a little bit more. They're so big; it doesn't take much to make a hole. But that, and I'd love to see Bowers and Washington come back into play a lot more than in the last couple of games or so. And then, both these teams have played 12 games, so we can't talk freshmen anymore. Everybody has experience. So they're going to get better with every down. The intangibles are, of course, I always say penalties, injuries, and turnovers. Those are, you never know which way that's going to go. So if they play like they can play, and we've seen them play, they should be able to handle it. And plus, they've got the experience. Even though they did reload a lot last year, they have some key players that have been there, done that. So I think it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, you hit on the 2 of the 3 things that I was gonna bring up. Yeah, don't beat yourself. That's exactly what I wrote down, and that's in turnovers and penalties. If we can do that, I think we're set up to take care of the Tigers. The Tigers. That is for sure. Kevin, what you say, buddy?
I've just got one main because the other things have been covered pretty well. I have to start fast. If you go back and look at some of the games that we've broken open and won big, Oregon, Tennessee, we started fast, came out hard, firing on all cylinders from the start of the game. We played a full 60-minute game and not just a 30-minute game. I feel like the past 3 games we've only played, a 30-minute game. We've left these teams in the game for far too long. It seemed like those games we were just playing not to get anyone hurt. I think Matt mentioned it, and you've mentioned it. We were playing very vanilla, very soft. It's just, like I said, there's no other way to describe it. Just trying to keep from getting players hurt and not getting them injured. But I think whether we've reached a point in the season now that we've got to get back to what made us explosive and dynamic from the start and get out there and spread these defenses out and exposing them like we did with Oregon and Tennessee.
Yep. I kind of feel like this team plays up to their competition, and I don't know what the reasoning behind that is, but I don't know if we're just bored or what the issue is, but you see us go out and just throttle Oregon, and we take care of business against Tennessee. We punched Tennessee in the mouth, and they didn't know how to take it. And so that mentality is what I feel like that our team needs. We've got to get back to that just absolute dog pound, just gnashing of teeth, just come out and just eat you up mentality. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up one more thing. And Paul, I'd love to hear your opinion on it. How great is it for us to have Jackpot Lesney in our back pocket? I mean, that's almost guaranteed points, right?
Say that again. You broke up on me.
Oh, I said, how great is it to have Jackpot Lesney in our back pocket? I mean, that's almost guaranteed points when we get into field goal range.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, kicking, that you kind of take for granted sometimes. When you have a bad kicker, everybody knows it. When you have a good kicker, you don't even think about it. But yeah, I mean, when it's automatic, I hate to use that word, but in most cases it is. It's just reassuring. It gives you a lot of confidence as a team that you know if you can get within range, you're going to score points. And yeah, it's. I'm glad he's with us.
Absolutely. His statistics are absolutely astounding. I mean, 23 for 25 so far this year, and he's 55 for 55 on PATs, a total of 124 points. So that's one of those unmentionables, one thing that we don't think about. And he is definitely a weapon. That is for sure.
Well, it's an important part of the game. Remember back many years ago when Alabama was struggling, they needed a kicker, and they got one, and it made a difference. And we have one. We have one for sure.
Yes, sir. That is for sure. Well, guys, it's that time of the week here to get into our upcoming games, Week 14 upcoming games. Obviously, we're into the conference championships. Let's get your predictions on this one, Matt. What you think between Clemson and North Carolina? Who do you got?
I'm just going to make it easy. I think Clemson wins the game. I think they're just embarrassed a little bit about losing to South Carolina last week. I think they come out with some anger and take care of business. I'm not saying it's going to be an offensive game, but I think they'll take care of business.
Absolutely. Kevin, what do you think, bud?
Well, these are teams that both are coming off of losses. Clemson lost to South Carolina. North Carolina has lost the past two to NC State and Georgia Tech. I think they're both going to come out with trying to prove something in this game, regain a little bit of pride that has been lost the past week or two. But I think that this is going to be an upset. I think North Carolina pulls it out 32-28.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that out of you.
It's
Paul,
the money game.
What you think, Paul? It's a money game. What you mean by that?
Well, I mean, because you got to realize the person who wins this game is going to have a much better bowl game than the other one is. So it's a money game.
Yep, I like it. Paul, what you think about this one, buddy?
Well, the good news for North Carolina, it's basketball season, so that's good. But I tell you what, I live in the Greenville area and was watching the news tonight, and Dabo got everybody in that's associated with the football team into the film room yesterday. Everybody. I mean, we're talking trainers, and he went through the game just to explain this is what went wrong, and we got to fix it. So they are focused, and they're determined. I'm going to go Clemson. Well, plus I have two son-in-laws that are Clemson guys too, so I have no choice. Not teasing, but no, Clemson all the way.
I like it. John Morgan says Clemson will bounce back from last week. They'll win by 21. Dad says Clemson 34-23. Mr. Akaki says Clem and his son 33-21.
Clem's son. Yep.
Yeah. And Hunter Ivy says go Tar Heels. North Carolina wins 31-17. Matt Emilio says Clemson beats the brakes off of UNC 38-17. And Ken Lalonde says, I will never pick Clemson again. North Carolina 24, Clemson 21.
Thank you. Who was the only one that picked South Carolina last week?
You, man. You. Hey.
I'll leave it at that.
I like it. All right, Utah and USC. Who wants this one first?
I'll take it.
I don't get opinions on flag football.
So this one is Utah's already beat USC in earlier in the season, And ESPN matchup predictor is favoring Utah, but Vegas is favoring USC. And like the old saying goes, it's hard to beat the same team 2 times in one season. We saw it last year with our Dogs. I don't think Utah beats USC again. I think USC wins 48-45.
I like it. Matt?
I'm gonna go with Kevin. Honestly, I think this is hard to beat a team twice. I think USC's got more to play for, so they're gonna come out a little harder. I don't want USC to win with my heart, but at the same time I want them to get the playoff. I think they'll be an easy win.
Yeah, I like that too. Paul, what you think?
Well, he's said that Vegas is going with USC. Being an ex-official, I'm not supposed to talk about odds, but you can rest assured that there's nothing going on as far as officiating is concerned. If there was, we would know. But I guess my point is, it's always amazed me how accurate Vegas is. So I just think coming off of last weekend, USC is hitting on all cylinders, and I'll go USC.
I like it. I like it. Hunter Ivy says this is USC season right here. They are playing for everything. USC wins 42-38. Dad says USC 31-27. Ken Lalonde says USC 42, Utes 31. Yeah, I don't think that the Utes can pull off 2 wins over USC, and I think USC is going to pull it off. And honestly, I really want them to win because I don't want to see Ohio State at all.
Or Alabama.
Or Alabama in the playoffs. That is for sure. All right, Kevin, jump on this one, man. Kansas State, TCU. What do you have?
All right, Kansas State. They're both coming off big wins last week. Kansas State beat Kansas 47-27. TCU it beat Iowa State 62-14. And we always know if you've watched any of TCU's games, when they get in big games, somehow, some way, they always find some crazy way to pull off a win. So I am going with TCU to win this one 45-42.
I like it. Matt?
Am I correct that TCU beat Kansas State earlier in the season?
They did.
So we just talked about how it's hard to beat a team twice?
It is.
But it is that crazy, crappy conference, so I'm going TCU.
Paul, what you think, buddy?
Well, I'll go the other way. I think they've used all the luck that they have this year. I think it's time for them to take a loss, and I'm going to go Kansas State.
I am in agreement. I think this is the game that TCU lays an egg and they lose it. I think Kansas State's going to win this one too. But TCU's still in. As much as I really want to play USC, I'm hoping that the USC will still be fourth. That's the team that I want to see us play, and I hope we play in Atlanta. That would be awesome. Totally don't want to see us play TCU, even though I think we can win. I really want to play USC. All right, the Slaughter Bowl. This is what I'm calling this one. This one's going to be a slaughter. Kevin, what you got?
I think this is going to be one of those where Purdue comes out and they try to make this a game. I think it's going to be close the first half of the game. But the second half is going to be where Michigan just opens it up and just pulls away. I got Michigan winning 42-21.
I like it. Matt?
I'm going to go ahead and out the limb and say I'm picking Purdue to lose this game to Michigan.
I like it. Paul, what you think, bud?
Michigan all the way. No discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Hunter Ivy says 41-17 Michigan. Ken Lalonde goes Wolverines 37-17. Dad says Michigan 41-17. Matt Emilio 52-17. And John Akaki says Purdue.
Wow, John. That's a surprise.
He's messing with us. He's got to be messing with us. There's no way Purdue's winning that game.
Maybe he missed some medication or something. I don't know what's wrong with him.
All right. The game that everybody wants to talk about. This is the one for all the kahunas. I just want to know, how Kirby Smart is what 1-3 in the SEC championship, and knowing how competitive he is, tell me how much is it in his crawl that he is 1-3 in the SEC championship? How much does it bother him?
I don't think he cared last year. After the whole national championship trophy, I don't think it mattered.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think it bothers him.
I think it matters. I think it matters. I think it's a sense of pride.
I agree.
It's a pride thing to win the SEC. It's huge. It's hard to do with the caliber of play that you have to play week in and week out to get to this game. I think it's huge, and I think it means something to him. He's not going to say it as much, but I think in the back of his mind, I really feel that it means something, something big, something huge to hoist that SEC trophy to say that you are the SEC champs.
I heard Terrence Edwards. I heard Terrence Edwards say today on a podcast that as a player, when you win a championship, it's for all those guys behind that were in front of you that put in the work to get you to where you are. I honestly feel like that the national championship was for all of those guys. This championship, if we win on Saturday, this is for these guys because they put in the work to get to where they are, and I think that it means a lot to this team, much more than the last year's team. I think last year's team really just wanted to win the national championship. I agree with you. All right, Matt, give me your prediction, man.
I'm going 38-24. I know it's a lot of points to give up, but I just think that I'm gonna echo what Kevin said earlier about getting out early and getting out fast on the front end, because statistically LSU is a second half team, and so I think we may be a close first half of the first quarter. And I think we take away in the like we did against Tech, kind of take the reins in the first half. I think the second half they come out and we kind of see some of that what happened in Florida without the turnovers. I think that they just start moving, make some adjustments, they score some points, and then it doesn't really become a real game, but it becomes more competitive. So I think they'll score some points in the second half on us.
Paul, what you think, buddy?
Oh, it's definitely is important. It's almost a home game for us in Atlanta, but I think Kirby's going to have these guys pumped and ready to go. If the team that played Tennessee shows up and we have 6 sacks and keep pressure on the quarterback, and then get the offense going like we can do it, there's a lot of ifs and maybes, but there's so much potential. I just have to go with Georgia. Of course, and I really haven't given any thought to the score, but I think they'll win by 10 points.
I like it. Kevin?
This is going to be one of those games. I think that Daniels is more banged up than what we think. I think they're just going to shoot him up and numb up his foot and his ankle and put him out there to play. And I think that with LSU's offensive line woes of letting defensive players get in the backfield and roughing up that quarterback, I don't think he's going to last more than the first quarter. I think our linebackers are going to get back there and bang him up, and he's not going to be able to run the ball, and that's what they rely on a lot is him having those explosive plays. The kid has rushed for 824 yards this season, so that's obvious that they rely on his legs, and if you take that aspect away, I think this is going to be one of those blowout games. I've got Georgia running away with this one 38-13.
I like it. Dad says 38-16. Ken Lalonde says 42-13. Matt Emilio says good guys win 45-24. Hunter Ivy says it's time for us to win an SEC title. Go Dogs. UGA throttles LSU 42-13. Kaki. Dogs 41, bad guy 17. I like it. Ken Lalonde says, I think the whole team wants this one bad. I agree. Let's see. Erica Barnes says 33-17. And Ken Lalonde says, great minds think alike, because Ken and Hunter picked the same score there. So Yeah, I think it's going to be a big win. I had some points and they just slipped through my head here. But it's what happens when you're trying to produce a show and comment at the same time, right? Yep. You got to have something up there to even talk about, and there ain't much up there. But anyway, yeah, I think the Dogs are going to knock this one off. I think we're going to take care of business. I don't know that we score 42 points. I'm going to go 38-17. But I still think Dogs take care of business and get her done, and we finally get that SEC championship that has eluded us the past few years here. But, well, guys, any final thoughts? We've kind of run long, and I know that I want to be respectful of Mr. Petrisko's time. Any final thoughts from you guys before we get off?
No.
I just want to say thanks. It's been a blast. I really enjoyed it, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
We appreciate you being on.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's send this thing out right. So, guys, we're going to take this thing into Lady Pins. I remember my point. LSU fans are selling their tickets like gangbusters. Last time I looked, the ticket prices have gone down to $115. So this is definitely a home game for the Dogs. We're going to show up. They're going to be loud like it was against Morgan. Me and Kevin were there, and it was deafening. And we're going to take care of business. Those Tigers are going to go back home with their tail between their legs. And I'm Brian, Mr. Petrisko. Thank you so much for being on the show. Dawgpound crew, we will see you next time. Go Dogs!
Go Dogs!
Go Dogs!